you. Thank you. Yo, yo, yo. Thank you, Emoji J. Everybody, welcome to Grow Through It. This is officially season 2. We skipped last week because it was Halloween. Want everyone to make sure they enjoyed it and not have to worry about coming to the show. My name is Cure or Cure Age. This is Grow Through It, where we talk about different adversities that we faced, how we've gone through them, but not just gone through them, but how we've grown through and from them to become the people we are today. Streamers, just regular people. So, with that being said, we have two new guests that I don't know much about, so it should be pretty interesting. First guest is going to be Johnny Boy 007, and then DJ It's Your Boy. Now, I haven't even been to their streams yet, so there's I'm gonna learn a lot, just like you guys. But real quick story. And by the way, every this show is every Monday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, 11 Central. I'm sure you can figure out the rest of the times. So a little bit about the show and to kind of tell my story is I grew up always as an athlete. That's what I did. I played sports. But what I did grow up into was martial arts. So that basically, since I could walk, I started training martial arts. And I played other sports along the way. And as I became a teenager, the UFC got really big. And when the UFC got really big, I realized like this is what I want to do with my life. So it wasn't just a passion at that point, it was also my job. And after high school, that was like a full time job, 2 or 3 times a day, 5, 6 days a week. And obviously, I went to college as well and worked. So it was just like I didn't have time for anything. But with that being said, years down the line, um, actually, it's almost been 10 exact years ago that I woke up one day and I couldn't walk. And I found out the reason why I couldn't walk is because I had herniated disc in my L6 lower lumbar area in your lower back, and my hip and left leg were completely out of place, which caused a lot of sciatic nerve damage in my back. And obviously, when that happens, you feel it throughout your legs, and other places. So it was pretty bad. It was basically the end of my fresh career. And so with that, I went through a lot of depression. Anxiety was sky high. Just everything was just rough because this is what I planned to do with the rest of my life, right? Well, part of my life, big part of my life. And when that happened, obviously I could have just sat around and moped around all the time. But one thing I wasn't able to do was not like stay away from the sport. So after rehab for my injury and everything, I actually, started going back to the gyms to hang out with the coaches mainly because I was on crutches for a while. Um, and so I'd be like sitting on the sidelines, which was a little different for me. And I'd be sitting there talking with the coaches, watching class, whatever. And I noticed that something that never happened before was a lot of athletes were coming to me, a lot of fighters were coming to me asking me for advice on things or tips, little tricks, whatever, for themselves, for their upcoming fights or whatever they were doing. And I was kind of flattered. I was just like, you guys want my like opinion? Like, I'm not even, I can't even do this anymore. Like, um, but it was cool, And then so I was just like, sure, like, oh, let me help you out. And so I did. And as I was helping them out, I realized they were doing really well. And I'm like, wow, I guess, I guess my advice is really good. And finally, when I worked, I don't want to say work, but whatever, worked in a corner for a fighter that I worked with. I'm not going to say names, but I worked with him and I was in his corner for that fight and watching him win using some of the stuff that we drilled and drilled and drilled that I used to use a lot in mine was like, whoa, like total shock to the mind, just like mind blown basically. And I was like, as much as I loved and still love like being in the cage and all that, but how much I found I love coaching was like, I was like, dude, this is my this is my calling, I guess. Like this all happened for a reason. And it's like kind of goes back to what I talk about in every show is, life happens for us, not to us, right? So it's kind of up to us to decide that. So, with that being said, that's a little bit about me, on one of the adversities that I've been through and how I grew through it and overcame it. So, you guys will be able to hear about the next two guests and how they overcame theirs. And again, everybody, welcome to Grow Through It. My name is Cure or Cure Age, and I'm the host of the show. Obviously, I appreciate everyone for the favorites, everyone for the love, everyone for being here. I obviously cannot answer questions or I cannot acknowledge everybody because of the show. It is featured. Please be respectful to the guests. Please favorite the guests, and let's have some fun. And with that being said, go ahead, Johnny Boy. Request the box when you're ready, brother. Um, and also, every Monday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight if you're on the East Coast, come through. If you guys want to be a guest on the show, go ahead and add me on Instagram or Snapchat. Send me a message and we'll get you on. So, Johnny Boy, we're waiting for you. And then when you're ready, we'll go ahead and have you pop in. There he is. Oop. That was my bad. Go ahead and can you request that one more time? That was my fault. It was a rough day at work, guys, so you have to forgive me for being a little slow tonight.
Hello. Hey,
Yo, how are you doing, bro?
good, not too bad. How are you?
Good, good, man. Oh, 12 spin around.
There you go. Ready? All right, there you go. Cool.
You're gonna stand. I like that. That's different.
Yeah, it's a little different from normally sitting down. Yeah, I'm gonna stand. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I feel it. That's cool. That's cool. I've been
Yeah.
standing all day, so
I've
I'm
been
cool with
sitting
it.
all day.
There you go. Gotta
Yeah.
balance it out. So let me ask you real quick, before we get started. Where did you like Johnny Boy 007? What does that mean?
Johnny Boy 007. Okay, so well, my name has something to do with that, but it was just something that I came up with when I first started this platform about 13 years ago. So 13
Wow, you've
years
been on
ago,
that
I
long.
decided a name, and I said, I'm gonna go with John Boy. And then a couple years ago, I had a lot of my people that came to my stream call me 007. So, and I found that there was a whole bunch of Johnny Boys, so I added the 007 in there. That's because people called me that.
Were you ever like a fan of the movies or the
I
video
mean,
games?
I do like 007, James Bond. I mean, I'm not a big, huge fan, like, but I do like their movies.
So I'm gonna say like your jacket kind of reminds me. Have you seen the movie The Goonies?
I have.
So do you remember Data? They call him Data, the neighbor.
Data.
He's got like a cool looking jacket, and your jacket's really cool. And it's like a cool looking
Yeah, I
jacket.
saw
And it has all the
something
cool.
about it.
There you go. It's got all like the cool gadgets and stuff. So that's what kind of
Yeah,
reminds me because he's trying to be like 007 or Mission Impossible. So that
yeah.
kind of reminded me of that. So I
I've
know
seen.
we
Yeah.
briefly, very briefly spoke over Instagram about one of your adversity that you face, and it was at like a really young age, right?
Yeah, really, really young.
So go ahead and share that with us, because I'm sure we have a lot of interested people here.
Yeah, so this I actually saved. Even my people don't even know. People that come to my stream don't even know, but now they will know, and the people in here will know that when I was way younger, this was at age 1. So I had a big fever, and my mom wasn't paying attention. She was cooking in the kitchen, and so I had a big fever, and then blood started coming out of my ears. So I had to be sent to the ICU. This was in New York City, where I was originally from. And during the ICU, they tried. About 20 minutes, 25 minutes in, they tried to save me, but it just didn't happen. So defibrillator, one, two, three times, and flatline. They called the time in, and I was pronounced literally a dead man. The nurse, surprisingly, on the second floor, um, tried it herself illegally and woke me up. So I had a second life. That
So
reminded
you were,
me. Mhm.
sorry, no, go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. You were saying?
So basically, when you said you were one,
Yeah, I was one at the time.
and you basically they um, announced you dead, right? Is that what you said?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And how long was that?
That lasted for about, I would say, somewhere between 25, 35 minutes before the nurse came in and woke me up. And
So do you? I mean, this is kind of a silly question, but do you like have any rec like recall any of it? Like, does any of
I
it
mean, I recalled it, and I recalled it.
maybe
And this was at
subconsciously?
a, yeah, subconsciously at a young age too. This was like probably at around, I'm gonna say like 9, 10 years old, when I was still partially deaf at the time, and I was still going through some surgeries that they had done on both my ears to fix that stuff. And so the Children's Hospital, the hospital down the street from the Twin Tower that I was in at the ICU, same hospital that I was given birth to, um, and all that really made me, just made me have a positive outlook in life. It made me always stay on that outlook of that. Oh, it's going. I always I that's why I rarely I don't even think I use the word if. Like when I have a dream, I say when it happens. I say
Right,
it's going to work. That's how
right.
I
Like,
always, yeah,
yeah, like kind of manifesting, basically.
yeah, manifesting that it's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
instead of if, we say when. That's a good one. I like that because I do that too.
Yeah,
Sometimes a lot of people, and even I do it sometimes. Like we'll say, "Well, if I can do this, or if this happens," and it's like if it's something you really want, just say when.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of people like whether they pray or whether they wish or whatever they do, it doesn't matter. We're universal here. So, we just, it's kind of good to like talk about it as if it already happened, be thankful that it already happened, right? And
Yeah,
obviously within your situation, like you were saved at such a young age, like you almost weren't here today because
yeah,
of that. But thanks to that nurse, right? That one nurse who,
yeah,
you know, brought you back to life, literally, pretty much, right?
yeah. And that would never happen if the front desk lady um didn't call her. They called her to check the aisle, and literally was that one aisle on the second floor, um, during her lunchtime. This was during her lunchtime as well.
So
The
she was
reason why
doing
I
her,
know all of this, yeah, the reason why I know that part of it was because um, we actually got in contact. I don't know how, but this nurse actually um, moved to California, where I am now, and somehow found me when I was doing my surgery at the Children's Hospital. And she was the one that told me the story about that part of the thing. I only recall the part when my mom reminded me of that. That's when I recall that situation from the
So,
time until, yeah.
so that you said that nurse found you?
Well, that nurse moved to California, and then I guess she had a record of my parents' phone numbers, and I guess that's how she
And so
found me.
she's the one that told you the story.
Of the end of the part of it where the
Right,
part
when
where
she
she
read to
had to go, yeah. The beginning part, my mom had told me about it,
you. Right.
and it recollected in my brain. Yeah,
That's pretty wild. That is
that is
wild.
wild.
So how old were you when you started getting, like you said you were deaf for a while and you were
Yeah,
getting
well, I
yeah.
started becoming partially deaf literally a couple months after I was woken up again. Like literally, that's when I realized and my parents realized that I couldn't hear very well, so
Right.
they had to yeah, they had to
So
go to the doctors, and through the medical system they got me the hearing aid, and then I was put into that program, that special ed program, until high school.
so it was all the way up to high school that you were getting the
Yeah,
treatments.
yeah.
So and like do you mind if I ask like how's your hearing now?
My hearing, so one side of my hearing on the left side is very good. It's at 20/20. My right side is, because they had to do it a surgery 3 times because they messed up twice. So when they fixed it, there's moments where I can hear you. If I'm like 20, 30 feet away, I can hear you like a dog can hear noises. And then there are moments where when I'm like literally 2 feet from you, I can't hear anything you're saying. And
Wow.
I'm literally like it's on and off because they messed up twice. But my
Do
left side is like perfectly 20/20.
do you ever like you stream, right?
I do sometimes. I
So
do.
everybody please hit Mr. Johnny Boy 007
Yeah.
with the
I do
favorite.
have a show on Saturdays too. So
And he's got a show. I
yeah.
didn't even know that. We'll
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that in a bit. So everybody again, thank you for coming in. This is Grow Through It. I'm your host, Cure Age or Cure. And this is our first guest of the night, Johnny Boy 007. Please hit him and me with the star at the top, the favorite. Show him some love. What we do here, as you can tell, is Johnny Boy just shared with us a little bit about one of his adversities that he faced at an extremely young age. You know, he literally was, I don't know what the correct term is, but he was announced dead for what you like 20 minutes basically.
Yeah, 25, somewhere around, I would say anywhere between 20 to 35, somewhere like
Anything
that.
more than a minute is a long time to me. So
Yeah, it is. It's
and
a
he
long
was
time.
announced dead for a
Yeah.
while, and this nurse who had to be on a lunch break, checking, doing her quick rounds on her lunch break, came, revived him, brought him literally back to life. He obviously had some struggles that he went through growing up into high school with his hearing. Um, and so, real quick, with the hearing, is that something that ever like, were you ever bullied when you were younger, or is that something that you feel like you still struggle with today, or is it something that you?
When I was younger, they would put me in the front. I would sit in the front all the time, but I can always hear people in the back, or kids, students in the back, just like whispering all these random like bullying type of
Right.
phrases or words.
Uh,
And when it first started, yeah, it kind of triggered me. Because back then, obviously, I was a young kid, so I was like 10, 11, 12, 9 years old at the time. And it really bothered me a lot. Um, and what changed that literally was my mom. My mom really gave me that courage to stand strong, because as a person in life, she taught me that whatever you do in life, you have to stay true to yourself and stay strong to who you are, because it can't you can't have things around you breaking you through. Otherwise, as you go through life, it's gonna really bring you down to the bottom of the well, and then it's be very hard to climb back out. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's obviously it's easier said than done,
Yeah.
being unapologetically ourselves, right? Like all of us, I think, I mean, I'm not going to speak for everyone here, but I know for me, sometimes, it's not easy being yourself completely, without thinking like, well, what if I'm too much of this or not enough of that? And especially like in your case with the hearing, what if that's not good enough
Yeah.
or whatever it may be. So, other than your mom, what was something that helped you grow, through that process and through the bullying, through like, the whispers behind you that you still could hear and they thought you couldn't hear it? Like, was there something that happened that you were just kind of like, you know what? It's cool, guys. I don't even care, basically.
Yeah. I remember um, when we were doing volunteering um, down in California. We have in Los Angeles called Skid Row, and basically all these homeless, and we would go hand out bags of sandwiches, like hygiene essentials, like your toothbrush, toothpaste, and all that stuff, and we would hand them out to homeless people. And I remember this was like when I was like 13, 12, 13 at the time, and at first I wasn't, not that I wasn't willing or wanting to go. I was just kind of scared to go to a place that a whole bunch of homeless people don't know who they are and what they are about. So it was these group of people that I met that actually gave me the courage to go with them. And as I saw a whole bunch of homeless people that didn't have and couldn't do what they are and couldn't be themselves, couldn't have anything, I realized that I have a lot more than they do. So I appreciate who I am as a human being and as a person myself today because of that experience. That experience really changed that whole outlook on
Right.
life.
It was like a whole perspective shift.
Yeah.
So it kind of just made you like, well, I may have, this going on, but at least I have food on my table or, whatever it was
Yeah.
that you experienced doing that. I mean, I feel like if anyone should do something, I'm not here to tell people what to do, but I feel like that's probably one of the biggest humbling thing is volunteering for people that are less fortunate than you, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's food, whether it's, you know, you name it, obviously, or
Yeah.
even helping out, animals, even, you see like these animals that are under cared for, or people, like whatever it is, just something that creates like, wow, life itself can be so much worse than like, because sometimes we do throw little pity parties for ourselves, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
saying you did. I'm just saying that there are times where I know I have, when I had my injury, like, yeah, I would sit around and not want to go to the gyms and not want to be around people because I was just sad about, this and that.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of a, it was definitely, it sounds like it was definitely enlightening for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that even made me, during even dark times as I got older. There were other dark times, and that even didn't bother me much to where because I felt at the time now when the dark stuff came into my life as I got older, it just made me felt like it was it was wrong and to put burden onto somebody else. So that's why a lot of people ask me, do you ever get sad? Do you ever have a like a down moment? Because I don't. I'm always happy. I'm always positive. I'm always um, giving advice and spreading good stuff to people in the world. So
Right.
it's like
Well,
they
and,
never.
and even with that, uh, like how often can we really be positive always? Like there's always like emotions are gonna come, right? And I
Yeah.
talk about it in almost every episode. It's just like we're not always gonna be happy go lucky and perfect and everything, right? Like things aren't always gonna go our way.
Yeah.
And certain thoughts and certain emotions are gonna come up, and it's just like, but what we do with them is up to us. It's our choice. And it's like if you sit on the
Mm-hmm.
sideline, right? Sideline of a football game or sideline of like or the side of the road with cars
Mm-hmm.
passing by, or even just standing in the
Yeah.
sand and then watching the waves come back. Those waves or those, those cars going by like this, those are our thoughts, those are emotions. There's no need to, and I wasn't prepared today because I don't know, it's a crazy day at work. So I wasn't prepared with
Yeah.
all my
No.
nice
No.
quotes, but basically the one of the quotes talked about how there's no need to hop into, basically I'm gonna just use my own words, hop into that angry bus of anger,
Yeah.
or that wave of depression, and try to surf that wave of depression. Like if you're a surf, I grew up surfing in California. Like you don't surf every single wave that comes, right? You pick and choose.
Yeah. Of
So
course.
it's just like,
Yeah.
obviously you can't pick and choose your emotions. You're gonna feel certain things. It's a little different, but you can pick and choose which ones you want to like really hold on to. Because sometimes fighting it, like you were saying earlier, how you know you could have allowed these things to affect you and all this been, and you could have turned
Yeah.
really hateful and spiteful towards all these people making fun of you. But instead of doing that, you just kind of like let it come and let it leave, like
Right.
easy come easy go. And just like with the wave or with the cars, it's just like they come
Yeah.
and they go. There's no reason to jump into it, you know what I mean? Like you didn't do that. You let them
Yeah.
talk their stuff. You still kept going. You still kept doing your thing. And then you started doing even better things, like volunteering at a shelter, right? Seeing
Yeah.
how people
Yeah.
didn't have
Definitely.
food, didn't have homes. What are you saying?
Yeah. No. Literally. And it's crazy, but not crazy. And I'm gonna share this with everybody, just a little short thing. The energy that you put out is the energy that you receive. And what I mean by
Exactly.
that is literally I've had people that were making fun of me at that time in elementary, in middle school, and even a little bit of high school. But as high school started to finish and we got into college, and some of these kids, some of these people that I are now friends with, still friends with, that made fun of me when I was younger. They've even told me, the energy that you put out is the reason why they came back and apologized to me. And not because of pity or anything, but just because to let me know that, hey, you're actually a good person, right? And we should have never made fun of you. People have issues all the time, physical problems, things that they go through life, and that's because the energy that I put out. Right? I still cared for them. I still loved them as a human being. I still forgave them. So they returned that at the end. They realized some stuff.
Yeah, your vibe attracts your tribe. You heard that one?
Yeah,
What we put out, like you said, what we put out, comes back to us. Um, and that, going back to what you were saying, how they, started to respect you because they started understanding, like, you're not just some guy that can't hear very well, right? That's all it really was. And you were somebody that was still a person. And it's just like it's so easy for us to profile people, right? Like we walk into a
yeah,
grocery store, we look at people, look at their cars, and immediately we're thinking, okay, this person makes a lot of money, they're probably snobby, or this person makes a lot of money, like whatever, or this person doesn't make a lot of money, they're probably like, broke. But it's like we never know what these people are like, and like I've worked in sales before, and you see a person that drives like, a regular average car, doesn't dress that nice, yet I've had someone literally hand me a black card before. They're driving a Honda, but you don't know what kind of car they actually had. And this is materialistic, but it's just like a simple example.
right,
You don't know
yeah,
what kind of car they actually have at home. They're just using that Honda
yeah,
right now. Literally, when they slam a black card in front of you, like, what does that tell you? Like, oh, I was totally wrong. And that's not the best
right,
example,
right.
but you get what I'm saying. Like, everybody gets what I'm
Yeah, no,
saying.
no, yeah, because I was in sales as well. I was in the car business for 5 years.
Right. Like,
I
you don't
vouch
want to
for it.
judge a book by its cover. Like the old saying, it's very cliche,
Yeah,
but it's very accurate.
yeah,
Um, but no, yeah, everybody, welcome who's come in. Welcome to Grow Through It. I'm your host, Curage or Cure. And this was our first guest, Johnny Boy 007. If you haven't heard his story, if you didn't get a chance to hear it, it will be posted on Emoji J's YouTube channel. So if you guys didn't catch his full story, he'll be back up in here a little bit. But if you want to go rehear, his whole story is pretty crazy stuff. But he grew through it, hence why he's here today. And
Yeah.
go ahead and go to Emoji J on YouTube, so you can subscribe to his channel if you like. But he has all the recordings. It won't be there yet, but it will be there later on. Johnny boy, I appreciate you. I'm gonna have you pop out of the box for a little bit, and I'll have you come back at
Okay.
the end. So, since I'm not as prepared as I usually am, I'm not in my own, office space and everything like that. It's a little different today. There's just long story, crazy day at work. I'll just leave it at that. So I don't have all my quotes and stuff like next to me and stuff like that. Usually I do that in between the guests. So I'm just gonna recap on a little bit of that, what he talked about. Obviously, if you weren't here, he was pronounced dead at the age of 1 years old, and 20 minutes later, or even longer, a nurse on her break just happened to do a round around where his room was and brought him back to life. And that's wild to me. Like you hear these things, but you don't like, what I mean? It's you hear it in movies, maybe shows. So it's pretty wild to hear that, and he grew up with some hearing issues up until, having different correct me if, if I'm saying this wrong, but different procedures done to help with his hearing up until high school. So that's, and I'm sure that's not easy. I know I was a victim of being bullied. I don't want to say victim. I was bullied when I was younger. I, I took it and turned it around into something that kind of made me grow too. So, and that's exactly what he did. And so if you guys haven't, please favorite Johnny Boy 007. He is in the comments. He'll be back on in the guest box in a little bit. Our next guest is DJ Your Boy. Sorry, is it it's DJ It's Your Boy? I I'm just now meeting these guys for the first time, so I apologize for that. Um, but he's gonna hop in the box right here in just a second. Again, everybody, this is Grow Through It, where we talk about different adversities and not just how we've been through stuff, but how we grew through it, how we overcame it, how, why, when, where, who, just kidding. All that and more. And it's every Monday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show and talking a little bit about your stories, go ahead and add me on Instagram or Snapchat, send me a message, and we can get you all set up to be on one of the next shows. And I appreciate everybody that's been in here, that's come by, showing love, favorites. I got you guys. Obviously, I can't acknowledge every person, um, just out of respect to the guests and the show it being featured. So this is DJ your boy. He's in the building. I've actually met him a couple times.
What's up, buddy?
What's up? How you?
How's it going?
Good, bro. How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. That was a crazy. I mean, that was an intense, like, just to hear that and be a part of that before. That was insane.
Yeah, that he almost wasn't here tonight. Just think,
Literally,
it's like it's
because
crazy.
I was taking notes like through it and stuff, and I mean, then the one thing that kept on coming into my brain that I kept writing down was just serendipity. Like, what are the odds?
Yeah, it's. But you know what? It's like I always say in my show, like life can happen to us or life can happen for us. And life happened for him, literally. Like I don't think you get more literal than that.
No,
So So I've seen you before. I can't think where. I don't know if it was in random battles, not for me, but maybe someone else. But I have you faved already. I've had you faved for a bit. I haven't popped in your stream, but I've seen your streams and your music. You have a lot of talent. Um, what is it that you do though, usually in your streams? I know we.
oh man, a little bit of everything. We just basically we try to bring a positive vibe to everybody who comes into our live, or my live. I call it our live because everybody's family. But I mean, I mix music and have a good time.
Yeah, that's. I mean, and it's like there's a the I don't know what to call it, like a group. Like there's a bunch of people that have the MSL in their names. Music Saves Lives.
Oh yeah, isn't that?
And I
I
absolutely
don't know if
agree with
that's
that.
Brody or somebody.
Yeah, I believe it is. So, and I absolutely agree. Like, music is a huge part of everyone's life, or hopefully it is. Um, So I know again, same thing with Johnny Boy. We didn't really get to chat much, but I know you talked a little bit about, something that you went through when you were younger, and something that you still go through to this day, right?
Yes, correct.
And so that was along the lines of ADHD, correct?
Yep.
So how long has that kind of just something you've been growing up with, or is it something that you were kind of feeling like you developed at a later age, or
So
it's pretty
basically,
common
I
nowadays?
was diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age, around the age of 5, 6 years old. And this was back. I'm in my 30s now, so this was back in the early 90s. And it was an interesting time because ADHD was just becoming a thing before, if you were in school, they would just tell you, oh, you just have a hyper kid. You just have a hyper kid. There was nothing really behind it in per se
Just
that like,
little,
oh, there was actually something neurologically wrong with this person. So I was a bit of like a lab rat when it came to the actual like start of Ritalin. So just to tell you something, when I was a kid, when I was 9 years old, I was prescribed 100 milligrams of Ritalin.
wow,
100.
like
I had to take 5 pills every morning before I went to school. But I was also diagnosed with severe ADHD. But at the time, I mean, for example, now the average dosage that a child takes for ADHD with severe ADHD is about 12 milligrams now. So I was a bit of a test bunny.
yeah,
So I mean, going through school was always just a math. I've always been, I guess, I don't know if this is true or not. I've been told I've always been an intelligent person, but going to school and like learning how to do anything like in school per se was just so hard because if you're not in what like a lot of people, if anybody here has ADHD, they know what I'm talking about. It's called the zone. If you're not literally in that zone where you feel like you're invincible, you're not getting anything done. And so it just became a massive struggle of trying to figure out how do I stay in the zone.
yeah. And it's interesting that you say you're a lab rat because I say that to people too with my Tourette's. A lot of people don't even know this because I don't talk about it on the show, but I actually have Tourette syndrome or tics, whatever you want to call it. And so I definitely know that that feeling of being a lab rat, so to speak, like from all the way from the West Coast to crazy in Europe. Like we literally would go into villages where like they have these witch doctors. They call them like the witch doctors.
Right.
They do like these little ritual things that are supposed to like take the evil eye off you and stuff like that. So I've seen not at all, but I've seen a lot. And I experienced a lot trying to get better, right? So is that something
No,
like
no,
that you
absolutely.
went
And
through?
it comes down to just, and I said it in the Instagram earlier when we were talking, it's all about trial and error. You're never you're never going to get it right the first time, unfortunately. And one of my favorite quotes that I've ever heard in my entire life is from the cartoon Adventure Time. And in Adventure Time, Finn's trying to do something, he can't do it, and Jake just looks at him and goes, "Dude, sucking is just the first step to being good at anything."
That's absolutely accurate. Like I like that.
So you have to be able to have trial and error. You have to be able to realize that, hey, when I start something, for example, I'm a DJ, and I've only been doing this now for 4 years, and I used to do it on Facebook, and so I'll get the memories on Facebook, and like, oh, this is 4 years ago you did this, and it's like, oh my god, I was so bad at music back then.
Right.
I was putting this on the internet. Like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah, no, like everything we do,
But then also, like for example, another thing that I saw, I have is like, you're an athlete, so I got one of these, third in state in wrestling in California.
there you go. Hell yeah.
One of my most prized possessions. But they came like, even like because I also played college lacrosse and then I played international lacrosse. I played for the Greek national team,
Wow.
and so you know even when it comes down to like memorizing film or going into practice, just having the ability to stay on track when you're trying to do something in that nature is very difficult sometimes when your brain is thinking about, oh, I mean, something that happened back in 2006 that has no relevance to anything that has to do with what you're doing right now, and now you just have to sit here and try to figure out how am I going to get around this.
Yeah. So did you ever feel like, so like say during wrestling, like during a match, like you got your grip on him. Like you guys are whatever what's going on, but you're focused, right? Like you're laser focused on this one person. Did you ever feel like that was when you were in your, that zone that you were talking about?
That's a very interesting question. I'm glad you asked me that. And so I'll bring it back to what my mom used to tell me when she would watch me wrestle. So I was the captain of my team. So I was always going up and down, talking to everybody before my match. And my mom would always say something along the lines of, you would be so like bouncy and happy, like, talking to everybody and on, right before your match. But as soon as you took off your sweats and your feet touched that mat, she would say you would flip a switch. She like literally you could see it in your eyes. You would just flip a switch. And she would literally I would tell people like, oh, you just flipped the switch. He's locked in now. And so to answer your question, yes, I think that and same with lacrosse as well. I mean, when I'm on the field, I used to joke around saying, oh, I have ADHD. I see the whole game in slow motion. I'm 2 steps ahead of you every time because my brain's going twice as fast as yours.
Exactly.
So I mean, that whole idea of being in the zone in the moment, I 100% get. And like I used to literally just call it what my mom used to call it, the switch.
Yeah, and it's crazy, like same thing with me. So like when I'm in the ring or like even just sparring or grappling, whatever it was, but like in the ring, right? You have 3 minutes, and during that 3 minutes, I'm calm, I'm cool, I'm collected. Yet, I'm getting hit or I'm dodging hits or I'm hitting, you know what I mean? Like or I'm grabbing on some, like whatever it is that was going on, it doesn't matter. I was focused and calm. And as soon as we get that
it's
break,
almost like a tunnel vision.
yeah, pretty much. But we get that break to kind of rest and recharge for the next round. Well, that's where I had my issue. So I had to train 4 times as hard because what would happen is, we had that 45-second to a minute break.
Mm.
That's when my Tourette's would go off, right? And that's when I would start thinking, like you said, from something from 2006 that has no, importance to what's going on. No, does have nothing to do with anything. But like my mind would just go crazy, and then my anxiety, my Tourette's would start acting up, right? And
so my equivalent to that would be when I was. So I didn't have any issues with that when I was wrestling. I would be able to stay in the zone between rounds. When I was playing lacrosse, this was a huge issue. I don't know if you're familiar with lacrosse at all. How the sport, how it like works out. Like the ball's on one side of the field, and then
right.
the ball's on the other side of the field. So there's like a good if your offense is rolling, there could be 5-10 minutes where you're just standing there,
right,
not
yeah,
doing anything. And that's where my mind would start to wander when I was sitting there on the field, with my attackman right next to me, and he's telling me about his, trigonometry class and how hard it is, and I'm like, dude, I don't care. I'm trying to, stay focused on the game.
yeah.
But then my ADHD will just kick in and be like, oh no, yeah, man, no, I totally get it. We got to figure out those theorems and stuff. It's not fun. And then next thing I know, I catch myself. I'm like, what are you doing? Focus on the game. Focus on the game.
Right.
Yeah, it's got me in trouble before. I've been sitting there and certain, especially when we used to play our rivals, like when I played in college, I had a couple buddies who went to other schools who rivals. They would know that if they started talking to me long enough, they could get me to like my brain to go into neutral, and all of a sudden they backdoor me, and I'm like, oh no. And now I got to play catch up to try to get back to them before they get scored on.
Yeah, you kind of slipped up by, just
like literally letting your guard down almost.
Yeah, in a sense, that makes sense. For me, like with the Tourette's, is I would so I would go into the next round usually more tired because when I'm taking, like I'm holding my breath. So if I'm like doing like one of these or whatever, like I'm holding my breath. I'm already out of breath, right? From like the 3 minutes or whatever it was from that round. So now instead of resting, I'm not exactly resting. I'm more tiring myself more going into that next round. So my conditioning had to be like way off the charts for me to, still keep going.
Were you fighting in 3-round fights?
Yeah.
So you're training for 6 rounds every time, just to be safe.
Honestly, I would go like 10 rounds sometimes when I would prepare. But that's what led to my injury was overtraining my body and not taking care of it as well as I should have.
I had that's another thing. I actually got drafted to play professional lacrosse. And when the first day of practice, I blew out my left knee. So pulled my contract, Never got to play pro. Saw the field for about an hour on a practice field, and then that was that. But like you say, with adversity, you got to be able to just say, "Hey, man, this wasn't meant for me. I'm going to move on and just continue my life." Luckily, I was blessed enough to become a member of the Greek national team. But then
Yeah,
I
that's
ended up,
cool.
I unfortunately have 12 concussions in my career. Turns out that I was diagnosed. I have CTE. I have dead brain tissue in my brain, and my neuro doctor was like, "Well, how do I fix this?" And he literally looked me in the eye and said, "Stop getting hit in the effing head." And he didn't say effing. And so I called my coach the next day and I was like, "Hey, I got to retire."
Yeah, and I'm sure that was rough. Just
It was
that
brutal.
alone.
I was awake all night. I never slept the night before. I couldn't. I was like, I can't believe I have to tell him this right now.
Yeah. So, did you ever have like a certain aha moment that obviously it was rough, like you seem like you've gotten to a point where you've accepted like that was that, and now you're at this point of your life where you're DJ your boy, and so like from where was that transition? Like what happened? You know,
Like, well,
maybe it wasn't an
I
aha moment, it's something just over time.
like the for this kind of thing. It was just one day. I think I was just randomly strolling through the internet, and I found this app, and it was literally this app, and I was like, "What is this?" And I click into it, and I start looking into it, and I'm seeing all these people doing like what we're doing, now. And I
Right.
just kind of thought to myself, I could do this because before doing that, I was doing my own podcast on YouTube, and so I was like, "Well, this is interesting. I've never seen an app like this where you can just do live streaming like this. Like I knew about Twitch and stuff like that, but I wasn't any familiar with it. So I used my podcast name. It was just TNHP on here for a long time. And while I was on here, I slowly started becoming more and more interested into music. And one day I'm golfing with my buddies, and my buddy Peach just keeps on going, "Oh, your boy's about to sink this putt. Your boy's about to do this. Your boy's about to do that." And I'm like, "That's a pretty good name."
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, and I'm like, "DJ
It's
your
used a lot
boy.
too.
Hmm, has a pretty good ring to it." And then slowly, through becoming DJ your boy, this entire what you see, this dojo is just kind of slowly metamorphosized this thing around me. I'm like a cocoon and like a butterfly.
Right. And it just kind of stuck.
And it just, yep. I just one day I just started saying I'm your boy, and people are like, "Hey, it's your boy,"
It's
and
your boy.
we're now.
It's
It's
not
just been a
just your
thing.
boy, it's DJ your boy.
It's just DJ your boy. I'm always your
so
boy.
so then you went from, also being an athlete, struggling with ADHD, which I'm sure made it harder at least, well, obviously we can relate a lot on that, competing in professional sports and stuff like, but you so basically you went from that, to like you said, you told your coach you couldn't sleep that night. You like, look, I gotta stop. I've had too many concussions. I had, the brain cell thing going on. Like, it's enough. I need to figure out what else. So is that basically that? Like, was there a time in between that and finding the app, or was it kind of
There
just
was a there was a very what am I gonna do like moment after that where when I finally stopped playing lacrosse and I was like, okay, at the same time I was coaching, me and my buddy, I still helped run a company, but we were like doing camps and stuff. We were going all around doing camps. I was flying out to Greece to help kids in Greece like train and stuff.
right?
So like my whole life kind of just did like a 180 to the point where I was just like, all right, well, it was almost like closing, like it was like ending a chapter. And I
Yeah.
was like, all right, well, that was an awesome 25 years. That was an awesome 30 years of my life, I mean, from the age of 12 to 35 or whatever it was, or 30, from like 10 to 32, whatever it was. It was an amazing run. And I just started thinking, okay, what can I be passionate about that I had as much passion for that? And it turns out that it was music. And the fun thing about bringing it back into the ADHD and being a DJ, there are so many knobs and buttons on this little thing right here. My ADHD is in seventh heaven when it comes to playing
Right.
music. I get to twist this knob and push this button and push this up. It's incredible. I
Yeah.
never thought that I would be, in all my life, I never thought I would be a DJ until I started doing it. And I was like, hey, this is kind of fun.
And you basically found your calling.
And that's the same thing with entertainment as well. I've always wanted to be an entertainer, and I haven't. I just started doing it like this year. I've actually made a full-fledged. I've given myself about a year's worth of one way. I'm going to try to get on YouTube, Twitch, this app. I'm going to try to become an actual online entertainer and really take a chance that I should have taken 10 years ago.
There you go. Everybody who hasn't already, please favorite our second guest of the night, DJ your boy. My name is Curage or Cure. This is Grow Through It. This is the first episode of season 2. Here we have 2 guests every week, talk about different adversities that they faced and how they overcome and grew through them. Hence the name Grow Through It. It's every Monday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, 11 Central. If you're in some other time zone, you guys, I'm sure, can figure that one out. And if you're interested in being on the show, feel free to add me on Instagram or Snapchat, send me a message, let me know, and we can get you booked. Emoji J also helps me out, so you can message him as well. So Mr. Johnny Boy 007, you can go ahead and request that box. But yeah, so your boy, obviously we have similar stories, right? When it comes to I don't have ADHD. Well, maybe I do. I don't know. I feel like it's a very common thing
Everybody might.
nowadays. Right, everybody might.
All right, cool.
And because it involved sports, and kind of like a career that we built and a career that ended, not so much because of like my Tourette's or your ADHD, but because of just what the sport entails, right? It gets hurt, you get hurt. So that was very interesting, definitely an interesting takeaway. Would you say that, before I asked Johnny Boy about his show, because I didn't even know he had a show, would you say that there's something that you'd want to tell the audience that's like something that helped you, like something key that stuck with you and still sticks with you every day, that was obviously you went through a hard time, but when it basically just wiped that and you know what, I'm DJ your boy now? It's something that just kind of could stick out to the audience, something that got you.
I mean, I got to take it back to that quote I said earlier. It's got to be, sucking is just the first step to being good at everything. When I first started becoming a DJ, I did it on my computer with a mouse and a keyboard, and that was it. And I didn't know where I was going to go, and I had no idea what was going to happen, completely honest. And I had no idea if I was going to be good or I was going to be bad, but I always believe that you have to take the leap. And if you never take the leap, you're never going to know. And a great quote that makes me think about that just popped into my head that I'm going to say is Wayne Gretzky's quote, which is, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's absolutely correct. And Johnny Boy, I feel like you could relate to that, yeah?
Oh, I definitely can relate to that because when I started my show, this was probably about 3 months ago. I started the show literally on my bed. I said, you know what, I'm gonna try this out. So I did it 4 days a week, Sunday to Thursday, for 2 weeks in a row. And I had 13 guests in my show during that span of time. And I didn't have there was no preparation. There was no team. It was a solo act, literally on my bed, not dressed up. And I had people coming in, interacting, and getting to know the guests each time. But then I started getting busier with work. So I do 3-4 different jobs, and I have to cut off my show because I was working mornings and nights. One of my friend's featured show that he had, that I went and checked out one day. That same day, a couple days later, literally on that, it was one day, 2 days later, I literally told myself, you know what, I'm gonna go back to doing that show, but this time I'm gonna actually prepare for it. I'm gonna put a preparation in, but it didn't take long. I had put a team together. I had gotten a promoter. I got my flyer creator, my script editing, my music editor, my marketing team, and we started this thing. They all dedicated themselves and their time to being with me as a team on the show because of my dedication. And I honestly thought I needed like 2, 3, 4 weeks of preparation, right? To do a show
You,
like this, like
you
mine.
kind of
But I
felt like,
literally the next Saturday was my first episode. And to do a show called The Late Late Show with Johnny Boy 007, literally just like a Jimmy Fallon late night talk show. It takes preparation to feel up to it. But I literally started my first episode with a big streamer named Pimenta. Also, the first episode, and everything went really smooth and really good. And as we continue, and now I'm gonna have another big person to end the show for the first season. And I can't believe that season one's already almost over. So it's like literally,
right on. So everybody,
yeah.
if you haven't favored Johnny Boy 007, DJ your boy, please do. And if you didn't catch their stories, you can catch it either later tonight or tomorrow on Emoji J's YouTube channel. He has all the shows, even tonight and prior ones. But yeah, so basically, Johnny Boy, like you basically, let's just put it how it is. You kind of sucked at the beginning, right? Or you felt like you did.
Oh,
And that's why you were like, I
yeah.
don't know if I want to do this. But then you came back, kind of like with a different plan, right? With a plan. Like, I'm going to do it
Yeah.
this way, this way, this way. And then it got better, right? So it's like,
And
kind of like how
yeah,
DJ
it
was
keeps on
talking about.
growing. Yeah.
Right. And how DJ was talking about, like, you're always going to suck at something before you get good at it, right? Or what's the quote exactly?
Sucking is just the first step to being good at anything.
There you go. Sucking is just the first step at being good at anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. Like, I mean, hardly ever do we start off at something first time ever being good, right? It takes something. I will say this though, this is random, is really random. Um, this was a long time ago. I remember it was prom night, and the next day at the hotel we stayed at, there was a like a sand volleyball court, right? And I was with some bunch of friends, and like there were some people there. I didn't even know who these people were, and they were just playing, in the sand, some volleyball. And I was like, yeah, I'm down to play. Like, I love sports, right? So I started playing, and like, I'm like, dude, I'm like spiking the ball. I'm catching every one of them. I've never played volleyball in my life. And they're like, dude, do you play? Like, are you going to go to college for this? Or are you like, I'm like, no, this is my first time playing. They're like, what? And I'm like, so I guess like typically that statement is true. I don't know, maybe what I do? I watch Tim
We'll
Howard.
call that beginner's luck.
Yeah, I guess so. But you know what, Tim Howard, I don't know if anyone knows who Tim Howard is. He's
Mm-hmm.
the he was the goalie for the America team years ago, and he set the record for the highest saves in history. And when they were interviewing, they talked to him like, what do you think really helped you to be able to do, so incredibly? And he has Tourette's, and he said with Tourette's syndrome, like it gives you some kind of like kind of like what DJ was saying earlier. Like he was already like a few steps ahead because our minds are thinking so quickly, and
Right. Yeah.
so it's like we all, and like with Tourette's, like we quick twitches, right? You twitch muscles. They even call, like, because I do physical therapy, like the twitch muscles, like those short, So basically, it's like we have these natural cat-like reflexes sometimes because we're ready to move quick already. So it's kind of interesting how that works out, And then it goes back to like the very beginning of the show when I said life happens to us or life can happen for us, So is there anything that you guys want to share before we close out the show with the audience tonight? Either something about your live, or something about your show, Johnny Boy, anything like that.
DJ, you want to go first, or
Yeah, sure.
yeah, go.
I have a new show that I'm starting myself every Monday morning. It's called Last Week in Sports. We just recap. So it's 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Western in the morning. We just recap last week in sports, have a fun little vibe with it, and
Right on.
we're going to try to grow that show and have a good time. And besides that, thank you very much for the opportunity. Johnny, I saw you, the message you sent me. I'll get you back on that. And just
Yeah.
thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you guys for
Absolutely.
being here. I really appreciate it. Everybody, I appreciate everybody coming in here and showing me and my guests love, respectful. being respectful, everything. And again, this is grow through it. You know, if you guys didn't catch these awesome stories that these guys have, go to YouTube, type in Emoji J. He's got a channel and he's got all the different videos from the shows prior, and this one he'll have up pretty soon, so you can catch it on there. But if you are interested, it's every Monday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, whatever time fits for you. Go ahead and add me or Emoji J on Instagram or Snapchat, and we can get you booked for the next show. So, Johnny Boy, I know there was something that you wanted to say too before we head out.
Yeah, so just really quick, my show, just a big streamer. It's a surprise if you guys don't know who she is yet. And yeah, my show's every Saturday, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central. So stop by and definitely check it out. We will have a lot of fun. Basically, we interview the guests, we play a game with the guests, we talk a little bit about the world news, we have the after show. It's a good hour and 15 minutes of just some fun time. So definitely check it out, and maybe you'll be a guest on one of the shows. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, favorite Johnny Boy 007. If you didn't, favorite DJ, your boy. And I appreciate both of you guys for being here tonight. I know it's a little last minute. We're all busy. We all have, work and stuff like that. So things do get crazy sometimes. But it worked out just like it's supposed to, right? Happened for us, didn't happen to us. And again, going back, like real quick into the whole emotional thing, and like this is something I don't bring up always, but I have brought it up in my shows in the past. Kintsugi. Now, I grew up in around a very Japanese culture, right? So I learned a lot about the Japanese culture when I was very young. And basically, kintsugi is a certain type of Japanese ritual where, and I'm sure you can, if you guys were here to listen to the guests, their stories, obviously there were parts of them that were, broken down, right? But they repair themselves. And so in the Japanese ritual of kintsugi, basically what people do is they take pottery, whether it's a bowl, whether it's, cup, and it's made out of whatever, I can't think right now. It's a long day. I apologize, guys. It's been a really long, stressful day. But basically, they take a piece of, porcelain bowl, whatever it is, they shatter it to pieces on the ground, but they put it back together using melted liquid gold. Basically, they take gold, heat it up, melt it, seal all the cracks with that bowl. So now the belief is that this bowl is even stronger, even sturdier, and even more beautiful than it was before it was actually broken the first time. So sometimes, it takes that being broken down and getting back up, growing through it, so to speak. Hence the show. But growing through those, pains, like I'm sure everyone heard that Rocky quote, it's not about how many times you've been hit, but about how many times you're going to get back up. So, if you guys want to look it up, Kintsugi, it's KINTSUGI. Check it out. It's really interesting. But that's basically the philosophy behind that is getting, pushed down, getting pulled down, whatever it may be, whether it's like a sports injury like myself and DJ your boy, or, Johnny Boy literally, had a whole death experience, came back from that, even struggled after that, but he's coming back. He has his own show now. Like, there's, I won't say the word self-made because there's no such thing as self-made. They had help. Well, we all have help along the way, but they decided on their own, with help of other things to not become bitter, but to become better, right? It's kind of cliche, but it works. It's true. It's accurate. So, with that all being said, Kintsugi, check it out. It's philosophy. It's very amazing. It's very beautiful how it represents the human person to be broken into a certain way, and it's what we do, how we get back up, how we grow through things, and how we decide that this didn't happen to me, this happened for me. So that's life. That's how it is. And I appreciate everybody again who came in here. Obviously, I couldn't say what's up to everybody. Um, and everybody was very respectful. I appreciate that too. Appreciate all love you shared with me, and with my guests. And I appreciate everyone for hanging out and being here tonight. So again, this was Grow Through It every Monday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. If you guys ever want to be a guest on the show, would love to have you. Just go ahead and feel free to add me on Instagram or Snapchat. Make sure you hit me with that star up at the top.